Hey guys, tonight we begin with one of my favorite bedtime enigmas. You know the kind. Something with soldiers, fog, and an uncomfortable amount of silence in the official records. So, dim your lights, get cozy, and prepare to drift into the bureaucratic haze of ancient Rome, where an entire legion of elite soldiers just vanished. No explosions, no witnesses, no grand battle. Just poof, gone. This is the story of the Ninth Legion Hispana, or as I like to call them, Rome's great collective oops. A legion with a reputation. The Ninth Legion was not new to danger. By the time they disappeared, they'd been around for nearly a century, battle-tested, bloody, and quite possibly tired of marching through damp frontiers for emperors who didn't even remember their names. They were first raised by Julius Caesar himself, around 65 BCE, back when Rome was still trying to figure out whether it wanted to be a republic or a reality show about powerful men stabbing each other in the Senate. The Ninth fought with Caesar in Gaul. That's modern-day France for anyone who didn't memorize their map of ancient conquests. They also helped him win the civil war against Pompey, proving once again that loyalty in Rome meant I like my general slightly more than the other guy. When Caesar was assassinated, because of course he was, the Ninth kept doing what soldiers do best, taking orders from whoever was still breathing and paying them. Eventually, they served under Augustus, the first emperor of Rome, who brought peace to the empire, mostly by killing everyone who disagreed with him. Promotions, marches, and muck. After some time in Spain and the Balkans, the Ninth was sent north to Britain around 43 CE under Emperor
Claudius. Yes, the one who stuttered, limped, and somehow still managed to conquer a continent between his naps. Britain was supposed to be Rome's big, shiny new province. Think of it like the empire's colonial experiment gone wrong. It rained constantly, the locals were angry, and the terrain was one giant mud bath sprinkled with suspicious druids. The Ninth found itself stationed in places like York, then called Eboracum, the kind of posting that made even hardened legionaries dream about retirement. Still, they did their job. They built forts, squashed rebellions, and marched around in full armor through what was basically a prehistoric swamp. If that doesn't sound miserable, remember, the Romans wore heavy metal helmets, wool tunics, and sandals, in the rain, for years. The queen who broke Rome's cool. Then came Boudica. Around 60 CE, while the Ninth was stationed in Britain, this Celtic queen decided she had had enough of Roman arrogance, taxes, and the charming habit of flogging native royalty in public. She raised a rebellion that became one of Rome's biggest nightmares on the island. And when Boudica's forces swept across Roman towns, burning everything in sight, the Ninth decided to intervene. It did not go well. The Ninth marched to confront the rebels and was promptly ambushed and decimated. Ancient sources, particularly Tacitus, suggest the legion was almost wiped out, with only a few survivors limping back to safety. Their commander, Quintus Petilius Cerealis, survived, probably because he ran faster than his men. He'd later marry into the imperial family, which goes to show that even a catastrophic military defeat couldn't ruin your career if you had the right connections. So yes, the Ninth was destroyed once, but Rome, being Rome, simply rebuilt it. Like a tragic
sequel no one asked for. Rebuilt and forgotten again. The reconstituted Ninth was sent back into service because clearly someone in the Senate thought, well, they can't die twice, right? For the next few decades, the Legion continued to garrison northern Britain, repairing forts and occasionally fighting local tribes who had no interest in Roman tax policy. But then, the records go quiet. After around 120 CE, the Ninth Hispana disappears from history. No more inscriptions, No more mentions in the military rosters. It's as if 5,000 Roman soldiers walked into the fog and never walked out. Now, historians hate loose ends. They ruin our sense of superiority. So for centuries, people have tried to figure out what happened. Did the legion march north and get wiped out by the Picts, those tattooed, screaming warriors of Scotland? Did they get transferred somewhere else and perish in another rebellion? Or, my personal favorite theory, did Rome just forget to write down where they went? Theories everywhere. Let's start with the dramatic one. The Ninth marched into Caledonia, modern Scotland, built a fort, and got completely annihilated by local tribes. It's cinematic, tragic, and looks great in movies. In fact, The Eagle, 2011, is based on this idea, complete with misty forests, doomed soldiers, and plenty of manly glances into the middle distance. But here's the catch. There's no archaeological evidence for a mass battle. No burned forts, no Roman graves, no convenient pile of armor saying, "We were here." Just silence. Then there's the bureaucratic theory. Maybe the Ninth wasn't wiped out at all. Maybe it was simply transferred, possibly to the Rhine frontier, or even the east, and lost in some smaller, less glamorous disaster. A few inscriptions from the Netherlands
and Germany hint that parts of the Ninth might have been stationed there after 120 CE. So maybe the legion didn't die heroically in the mists of Scotland. Maybe they just got reassigned to a dull garrison, caught dysentery, and faded into anonymity. Because, let's be honest, history is often less epic tragedy and more paperwork error followed by food poisoning. Rome moves on. By the reign of Emperor Hadrian, yes, the wall guy, the Ninth's old base in York was taken over by another legion. Hadrian even built his famous wall around 122 CE, right after the Ninth vanished, which could mean he was trying to contain the chaos left after their disappearance. Or maybe he was just tired of scheduling funerals for missing soldiers. Either way, Rome didn't send another legion north to avenge the Ninth. They just filled the post and moved on, like an empire with too many problems and not enough patience. To the Roman state, legions were like replaceable batteries, expensive to lose, but easily replaced with another one. So the Ninth slipped out of the spotlight, forgotten by emperors, neglected by historians, and eventually turned into one of those bedtime mysteries that keep archaeologists arguing over pottery shards for centuries. The legacy of a vanished army. The funny thing is, even though we don't know how the Ninth died, or if it really did, their legend outlived every other Roman unit in Britain. They became a symbol of disappearance, of the limits of Roman power, and of how even the mightiest empire can misplace 5,000 men without noticing. It's kind of poetic, in a grim, sleepy sort of way, because if there's one thing the Romans were great at, besides conquest, plumbing, and naming everything after themselves, it was pretending that embarrassing things never happened. And so, the Ninth was quietly erased from the record. Let's float over then to the next part, where we'll drift deeper into the theories, the archaeology, and the deliciously bureaucratic mess of Roman record-keeping. Because sometimes the truth of history isn't found in battlefields or ruins, but in the empty spaces between lines of text.